All right, hello and welcome to another edition of the Rhythm Rundown. Myself, Josh Applebaum, and my buddy, my wise guy partner in crime, Mr. Cade Harper. Cade, how you doing? Can you believe it? We're already into the month of October, so we can brush aside the month of September. We were kind of, getting our feet wet, getting back to betting football. Now we're, I think, really hitting our stride here as we get into the month of October. So weather's getting a little bit cooler. We got our rhythm system matches lit up. A lot of edges between what the market is offering, what Rhythm is predicting. We got a huge Thursday night game here tonight, Cade, looking at the Rams and the 49ers. This one should be kind of a difficult handicap in one way just because of all these injuries, Cade. We'll get into it, but Brock Purdy obviously is out. You have Mac Jones. If you're a Pats fan like me, the ghost of Mac Jones rears his ugly head once again here tonight. But a lot of great games we got to hit on. I'm excited to talk about this Thursday night game with you, Cade, including what could be another Hall of Fame rhythm contrarian under on a super great player in a primetime spot that everyone's playing is over. And we're thinking about going under here with this guy. So we'll tell you about that in a second. I also want to hit on with you, Cade, Minnesota and Cleveland this weekend, the Broncos and the Eagles, Patriots, Bills Sunday night. Got a good edge on this one I want to hit on. And then for college, Iowa State, Cincy. That's one of the sharpest plays I've seen this weekend. Miami and Florida State, Illinois, Purdue, Vandy, and Bama. So we got a lot to hit on here, Cade. My man, how you doing? How you feeling? It's great to see you again, brother.
We're here and we're moving. Yeah, October already. It's getting cold outside. It's almost, I think it's a pumpkin spice season for most, including myself. I'm not going to brag about it, but yeah, I'm a big time coffee guy this time of year, so I'm fired up.
No, I'm right there with you, man. So I know you got your UGG boots on. You already got your pumpkin spice. I mean, you're full like you should see New England girls in this area, Cade. They all wear the same thing. They all like their pumpkin spice. But either way, it's my favorite season. I must admit.
I wear it proud.
Summer is great. Yeah. Summer's too hot though. You get to the nice, cooler weekends, football's in the air. I love Halloween, so it's a great time to be betting on
Absolutely.
sports. But I just want to start real quick, Cade, just some housekeeping and then a couple games that we nailed from last week. So as always, if you are brand new to Rhythm, easiest thing you can do is just download the Rhythm app, give it a 5-star review in the App Store. We do have an awesome leaderboard contest going on. So I want to kind of highlight this, but if you just log into Rhythm, all you got to do is just click check it out on the homepage, this leaderboard contest. You can enter to have your handmade model. The cool thing about Rhythm is you can just say, hey, I don't want to do legwork. Rhythm, give me your best models based on your AI predictions, or you can create your own based on a handful of criteria. And if you want to create your own model, submit it to the leaderboard. You got nothing to lose. You got a lot to gain. You can win $1,000 for first place, having the best weekly model performance, 600, I believe, for second place, 400 for third place. So you might as well enter. You literally have nothing to lose, and you can make some money, which is always great. Also, we have our refer a friend. You can click top right corner. If you are turned on to Rhythm and you see the value in Rhythm, you want to maybe show someone else the value of Rhythm, help them win as well. So, Cade, you can always hit that refer a friend, get more people introduced to Rhythm. And then we do have our Discord channel. So if you scroll down, click the join Discord. That way you can be connected to other Rhythm community members. You can talk about games. And we do have our promo code START25 for 25% off. So just always want to mention that. But real quick, Cade, before we get into this week's games, including tonight, a couple games that I went nuts for last week, and I know you did too. Alabama, man, roll tide, baby. Alabama, Georgia. I don't want to get your takes on all these because, man, these were some super sharp plays. But Bama was at Georgia. Everyone and their mother was on Georgia. It was a short number, but you remember Georgia opened around -4.5, got all the way down to 2.5. What I loved about that Alabama play, not only a sharp contrarian primetime spot, conference dog, but Rhythm had Bama plus 1.6. So if I can marry a market move toward a team in a contrarian spot in which you might have gotten annoyed, I can only get a 2.5 at the time, but Rhythm said it should be 1.6. Bama ends up winning that game outright. So Bama was a nice hit for the Rhythm community. And then Ole Miss, Cade.
Oh, yeah.
I think that hammer the over with Lane Kiffin was a smokescreen. Maybe his daughter dating the star linebacker of LSU. That was a psyop from the Kiffin family. But Ole Miss flipped dog to favorite, +1 to around -1.5, -2. Love that dog to fave contrarian move. Public was all over LSU. Line went to Ole Miss. But Rhythm, here's the kicker. Rhythm had Ole Miss -3.2 or -3.5. So Bama and Ole Miss were my two favorite hits of the weekend, Cade. Don't get me started, though, on Colts plus 3.5. I should just probably never bet against on or against the Rams. It's happened 2 weeks in a row for
It's
me.
rough.
But Bama Ole Miss, how was your weekend, Cade? Give me your highlights, or maybe your lowlights of the weekend as well.
We finally regressed. I think that's
It's bound to happen.
Which it's totally fine. Yeah, we were like, it wasn't anything that like wasn't sleepover. It happens. It's betting, of course. We did have some good winners. We had some more tough losses. Obviously, the losses out kind of weighed the wins in some cases. The early slate, yeah, it was bad from like 12-3, but the primetime slate, like we were talking about, Bama game, I did end up getting the 3.5, like I think halfway through the game at some point. And then at one point I actually did end up getting Georgia money line. For some reason I was just thinking it was going to end in like a 3-point game where Georgia just sneaks by. It's fine. It kind of canceled each other out. I didn't really play anything big. I know the over did end up losing in that one, but overall, like I said, it happens. It's betting. It's the industry. So we bounced back this week, though.
Yeah, you're totally right, Kate. And I think you hit something really important, like the psychology of sports betting. Like everyone thinks it's easy. Everyone thinks you're just going to have winning, days, months, weeks, but it's really difficult. That's why Rithmm is such a great tool, because it allows us to hopefully identify an edge over the sports book. So one thing that someone told me, a mentor of mine a long time ago, is when you're hot and things are going well, you're never as good as you think.
Right.
When you're cold, bad beats you can't escape them. You're losing, you're trying your hardest, and you're just not producing winning days. You're never as bad as you think. You're somewhere in the middle. So never get cocky and arrogant when you're hot. Never get down in the dumps and negative when you're cold. It's always going to regress. You're always going to be somewhere in the middle. So again, sports betting's hard. You got to overcome these really sharp lines the odds maker set, overcome the juice, overcome bad beats, overcome plus 3.5, and Tutu Atwell has an 88-yard touchdown to kill your plus 3.5 after you had a missed block kick the week before. These things happen. You can't smash your TV. You can't jump out a window. It hurts. It's annoying. You just got to stick with it and keep grinding. So with that being said, Kay, let's see if we can hopefully pick out some winners here for this week. Let's start with, obviously, the big one here tonight, Thursday Night Football. And I'll argue right off the bat, Cade, that this is a really hard game to handicap, because one thing that I try to avoid are games with big injuries, because I think it can kind of go one of two ways. Either the team that's injured and banged up gets rolled, and it's just obvious to bet against them, or the market moves so much away from the injured team that the line just becomes too inflated, and it's actually a smart move to buy low on that injured team, because the public narratives, they think they can't perform. There's no way they can cover the number. So it's always difficult for me to really have a clear position one way over the other, like fade the injured team or buy low on the injured team. That's why I'm curious to see what you think about this game. So my view of this game here, San Fran and the Rams, first off, the injuries to San Francisco. You have no Brock Purdy. Mac Jones is at quarterback. You have no Ricky Pearsall. You have no Jawan Jennings. That's your top quarterback, your two top wide receivers, all out. As a result of those injuries, we saw this line really shoot up toward the Rams. The Rams at one point were as low as -3. The Rams are all the way now up to -8.5. Some shops even touched 9. Came back down a little bit here. Now, if you do look at the splits for the game, they actually look pretty good still on the Rams, believe it or not. If you look at DraftKings right now, 60% of bets, 70% of the money is on the Rams. At Circa out in Vegas, only about half the tickets, but more than 80% of the money is on the Rams. And we have seen these Thursday Night Football home favorites do very well. Short week, typically that benefits the home team. Didn't have to travel. They're 99-81 against the spread, 55% ATS, 7% ROI since 2006. So on the one hand, it's, hey, 49ers have a lot of guys out, a lot of very important players out. The line really shot up to the Rams, but don't think about it too much. Late with the Rams, they're going to win by 10 or more, playing all these backups here. But what complicates this game for me, Cade, is that we've got some buyback on the 49ers. A lot of these 9s are down to 8.5. We have seen, of course, opportunities where you buy low, where the market has moved so much, it creates an opportunity to kind of go the other way. You would have a divisional dog system match on the 49ers. You're in a contrarian spot. They're only getting around 40% of bets in a heavily bet primetime game. You also have a big dog getting 6.5 or more. That's been a good angle this year. that is 8-7 ATS this season. You're slightly above 500, but it's 55% against the spread since 2022. I think if you're playing a teaser and you want to take the Rams down 8.5 to 2.5, that could make some sense. I'm actually going to use the Rams in some of my survivors, Cade, because you have seen these Thursday night favorites do very well just straight up. But what complicates this cap for me, which is why I'm playing the total. So we'll get to that in a second. But I'm really interested in your thoughts on the side, because if you kind of look at what Rithmm is predicting, Rithmm is saying take the Niners. I have 2 Rithmm system matches on the 49ers. First thing I notice is they're both Green Star recommended plays. Always remember, you're going to have some games that are caution flags where it's like, hey, it's a lean, but maybe not an auto bet. 2 models, both on 49ers, both Green Star plays. One has 49ers plus 7.8. The other one has 49ers plus 8.1. So again, if you're getting 8.5, or maybe you can shop around, can you find a book that is still hanging a 9? There might be a book out there. You're mostly 8.5. But Cade, help me out with this one. Anytime I see a game where like I can make a case, line move, obvious, fade the 49ers, they're banged up, but then Rithmm says no, buy low on the Niners, and they do have a few things I like. I've made a case for both sides, therefore I'm not touching the game. I don't find a clear edge. What's your take on this one? And what do you do when you have these big injuries and big line moves?
It's very tough. It's very tough. Like we've pretty much been saying, I missed out on the early line, and here's the thing. Like I think it opened 3.5, if I'm not mistaken. That was before all the injury news kind of came abrupt. I don't like gambling before the gambling. If that can make sense to some?
Ooh, you should patent that. You should coin that, man. I like that.
At the time, we assumed that we're going to get like starting quarterback versus starting quarterback. We're going to get Juwan Jennings. We're going to get Ricky. We're going to get like a full divisional gutsy matchup against these 2 teams, like we always do. And then all of a sudden, here comes Mac Jones, and here comes, Kate Bourne and all these other guys. And it's just like, okay. And then, so it shoots up 6 points. I did put it in a teaser. This is one of my, I guess, only plays for tonight, outside of some props that I did find some value in, I guess. I teased the Rams down to 1.5. And then I paired that with Miami this weekend on the road in Carolina to plus 4.5. So that's my only like teaser play, I guess you could say, into the game. However, multiple systems and like are lining towards the Rams. I guess if you had to pick a side, like if I had to, gun to my head, I can't put money on this Niners team right now, honestly. As much as Rithmm has it green lit up right now, Shanahan struggles as a big dog. It's 4-23 straight up as an underdog of 4 more points. And I do kind of like this first half play. I found Rams at -2.5 in the first half. I might take this as well. As well, I know that's an alt line. But I did have that paired out with another play from today as well, with an under in postseason baseball tonight, for those of you who know. Just whatever. Rams -2.5 first half, along with under 7.5, and Yankees Red Sox tonight. That's another one. A lot of it is just like finding these alts, kind of putting it together, because I don't like the full number. I just can't get there personally. So games like these, I tend to find more value in a props way, or in the total, like you are saying. In games like these, it's really sketchy to play a spread that big on a primetime slate.
Yeah, I'm really kind of right there with you. And again, I'll just caution everyone by saying Rithmm has nailed a lot of these that look really gross at first glance. And then obviously, somehow maybe Mac Jones is, down 14 points, fourth quarter, meaningless, last final drive, touchdown, they lose by 7. Like that, I feel like is so in the cards, like it's not even funny. But to your point as well, like with all these injuries, didn't even mention George Kittle. He's been out. Like you're down so many guys here, especially on a short week that historically, again, you've seen these home favorites do very well. My question too is like, what's the next move? Like 8.5 is not a dead number, but you're kind of right, between 8 and 9. Between now and kickoff, do we see it rise up to 9? Do we see it fall back down to 8? That late movement is always important to me, especially in a primetime game, especially with all these teasers at play, where some books, you tease and it pushes, you'll remove that leg or you'll lose the teaser. So, when you go 9 down to 3, you win by 3. Again, that can ruin a lot. There's a lot of money on the line basically with all these outcomes that can be possible versus an 8.5 to 2.5, where a 3 obviously covers the number. And also, Cade, like sometimes I look at games and I see like weird deja vu things going on. Like if you remember, I think it was Monday Night Football, Browning and the Bengals this past Monday against the
Right.
Broncos. Like there was a similar big move toward the Broncos where I want to say if Burrow, like the look ahead was like 3 or 4, it got all the way to like 7.5 with a lot of injuries and just people pounding Denver. And at the time, I remember saying, man, the line is clearly going toward Denver, but is there an inflated contrarian play, which I really like those spots historically, where you can just bet against the public, get better points because the books and the betting public is just hammered aside so much that it's just a buy low spot. Is there a buy low spot to just take the 7.5 with the Bengals? And you actually did see some books, I believe, get down to 7 for that game. So there's a case to be made. Like, do you go with the big move or do you kind of fade the big move and buy low on the inflated dog? I know this is just an anecdotal one-off, but the Broncos ended up rolling like 28-3. So is this a situation tonight where it's similar? Just the 49ers are kind of giving this game up. They know they're 3-1. They're probably happy to be 3-1. All their guys are injured. They're playing the long game. It's a short week. You almost have built-in excuses to kind of just lose this game. Obviously, they're professionals. They're going to want to win. They're going to want to play well. But is this a spot where we're overlooking this huge line move that's just saying, hey, this is going to be easily Rams by 10 or more? So if Rithmm had this as a, 8.5 point game, 9-point game, I'd be less inclined to take the points. I mean, I will definitely defer to Rithmm in this plus 8.5 just because it has met all the models and it's a recommended green star play. But I'm kind of with you. I don't want to touch one side of a spread when I've made a case to kind of go against that side. So I'll defer to Rithmm. Sounds like you will too, Cade, but I don't think either of us are actually going to, again, take the points here. But you know what'll happen. They'll cover and we'll say, why do we overthink this? We're idiots. We should have followed Rithmm. So that's going to happen. But I want to get your take on, and by the way, what's your number on this game, Cade? How do you handle your power ratings and your numbers when there's injuries? Like, do you get, from Purdy to Mac Jones, that's a 3.2 point drop off, or like how does your model handle injuries?
Factors in a multitude of ways. I honestly didn't even bother looking into it just because of how gross that I assumed that it was going to be. Because I don't think you can pay me enough right now in this very moment to put money on the Niners of where they stand, because I look at last year a lot. They were hurt pretty much the entire second half of last year, if I remember correctly. They went 1-7 to close out the season. And right now it's very much so looking like history could repeat itself. It sucks because, again, at the beginning of the season, I talked about especially how high I am on this team because of their easy schedule. Like, I have a Super Bowl ticket in for them, and now look at the position that we're in. So it's tough. These are type of things that that I have to overcome in terms of figuring out model ratings and stuff like that and everything, which it's tough adjusting to that kind of stuff within certain days, I guess you could say, with only given 3 players. But then again, those 3 players, those 3 guys, they are that offense. So it's going to make it a big jump as far as trusting it to gamble. I think I had it roughly just under 12. Yes. Okay. It was just under 12. And then again, I can't put my mind to it, even with the injuries. It's so hard to get there.
And I think there's also you and I still feel it, but a lot of new bettors definitely feel it. Like, there's a primetime game tonight, I got to bet it.
Right.
Like, there's that inclination or love of football. You want the sweat. The work week's coming to an end. Maybe you had a tough week. You're just like, screw it. I want to, order some food, get some drinks, hang with the boys, sweat this game. Like, you have this feeling to force it when in reality, there's a lot of games. There's just so many games to choose from. You don't want to force something just for the need and sake of action. So I think that's in the back of or should be in the back of a lot of bettors' minds. But I do have a play on this, and we also got to get to this ridiculous possible Hall of Fame winning prop bet that when you see it, you're going to be in totally disbelief. But what's your take on the total here, Cade? Because I'm playing the under. I like the under in this game. We've seen pretty clearly this line drop. Open as high as like 47.5. You're all the way down to 43.5. A lot of books were at 45.5 last night. So even just one thing I look toward is late, game day movement when limits are raised, bigger bets come in. It's precipitously fallen. It makes sense too, like backup quarterback, wide receivers who can move the ball and make plays and put up points. If they're out, you would assume it's going to be a lower scoring game. And the market has kind of followed that. You do have a good split at DraftKings, only about half the tickets, but more like 65% of the money is on the under. This would be a primetime under. Primetime unders are 58% since 2019. Divisional unders that drop, you have two teams in the same division, take the under. If the total falls at least a point, that system match is 56% since 2022. Bill Vinovich, the lead ref, is one of the best current just under refs in general at 57%. Both teams are top 10 in fewest points allowed. So I jumped on under 44.5 earlier today. I don't think there's many 44.5s left, but what I like is that even at 43.5, they're both on the same side, these recommended plays, and one is a green star sharp recommended play. So I love how Rithmm gives us these little blurbs. Quote, unders aren't always fun, but they're profitable. You're getting good value backing the sharp side of this bet based on your model. So if I click the model prediction, we're right at 43. Like maybe that doesn't give you a ton of confidence because you need 43 to cash under 43.5. Like you would have loved to see 39.8 or like some much lower number. But I like that this is a green star recommended play. It matches the way I'm interpreting the market. Again, scroll down. Can you find me a 44? Looks like Bet Rivers, Bet 365. Again, a lot of these books are 43.5. But if you can still find the 44, I mean, I'll play under 43.5, but you would have loved to have gotten it a little higher. But still, if this is a 30-13 game, if this is a 27-16 game, I mean, you can think of these combination scores to hopefully go under. But Cade, I'm going under here. I feel like I've built a stronger case to go under than I have either side of the total. What's your take, or either side of the spread, I should say. What's your take on the total?
Yeah, I'm all for it. I'm a big fan of these primetime unders, much less the Thursday night unders as a whole. They've been nothing short of very impressive, whether that's I think it's all season so far. It's been pretty good. And historically, in the past, the main thing, obviously, you got to look at is the Rams defense going against the beat up offense that they have. I mean, you have guys like Jared Verse who could get the best of Trent Williams tonight, which I think he might. I know they have a top 10 defense right now, fourth highest pressure rate in the league. So I think it's going to keep Niners offense pretty quiet, in my opinion. Maybe a team total under on the Niners side if you really want to get ballsy. Wouldn't be a bad idea there. I did see one of my people in our Discord did put out Rams -2 under 54.5 as like I guess a teaser on both spread and total, which I don't hate. If you're into those, I wouldn't really think it's a bad idea there because you're technically getting the best of both worlds. Just got to be careful of them squeezing out a win there. But I guess, it's not really supposed to happen, but that's why we do it. So, yeah, that's really a preference thing for a lot of people. But I don't have a play in the under, would heavily lean automatically on almost every primetime under, though. I don't think I've ever bet a primetime over probably in my career. So
I'm right there with you, Cade. And also, if we can just pray to the gambling gods real quick, no Mac Jones pick sixes. That's what could really hurt this under here. If he fumbles, pick six, safety in the end zone. I know it's only 2 points, but if we can just limit the turnovers because Cade, you may or may not know this. I'm a New Englander. I'm a Patriots fan. All of my memories of Mac Jones are the last couple of years throwing pick sixes left and right. So worries me a little. I want to bet against him. I'm just worried he's going to screw up this under here. So hopefully that doesn't happen. So yeah, I'm going under officially under 44.5. Again, looks like 44 is your best price. Now, what we got to get to that everyone's been talking about, it's lighting up the internet. Parker and Megan are going nuts over this prop bet. If we can rewind the clock, Cade, to last Thursday, there was a player, there was a star wide receiver who was lighting it up At the time, I think he was, I don't know, was first in the NFL in receiving or top 5, or he was just crushing it. Jackson Smith and Jigba. Jackson Smith and Jigba. I was on the internet looking at Twitter, and I always look, Cade, like BetMGM, FanDuel, DraftKings, they'll have their PR people tweet out, oh, these are our top 5 most popular plays of the night. Every book had most popular prop bet, JSN over receiving yards. However, we were doing the show exactly a week ago right now, Cade, and we were saying Jackson Smith and Jigba, everyone's playing the over. Rithmm said to take the under. Rithmm was predicting like 57 yards. I think the under was 82.5. Now, he had 0 catches, 0 yards first half. He turned it on a little bit in the second half. He made us sweat when we probably shouldn't have had to. I think he landed like 79 or 70 something. Anyway, ended up winning. And I remember at the time, you and I were like, man, this guy's lighting it up. He's probably going to fly over, but Rithmm is telling me to go under. So what we did is we said, we're not going to go against Rithmm, but we're also not going to, we're not going to make a bet that Rithmm is directly telling us to do the opposite over. And I think that prop bet made a lot of believers. Of all of you watching the live stream, people who don't know about Rithmm, you're like, man, how could Rithmm be saying take the under on a super great, awesome wide receiver, his receiving prop? Well, it did cash, and now we have another one for you. So if we can go to the props for tonight, Puka Nacua. Puka Nacua, the absolute stud. I actually saw a tweet the other day, Cade, where I think he's on pace to break the single season record for, was it Megatron who set the receiving yards for a season?
I think so.
And I think, yeah, he's on pace to do it. Well, guess what? Under 7.5 receptions for Puka Nacua. Couple things to talk about. One, let's look at what he's done recently. This is why you have a lot of heartburn. And I'll just, if you're new to betting, games that give you heartburn, things that look disgusting, I joke around and call him a hazmat play because my old buddy Michael Lombardi, we did a show called Lombardi Line on VSiN, and anytime I would throw out, he was a football guy but not a betting guy. So when I would throw out gross plays, Cade, he would just be like, that he would call it a St. Jude's bet because you're better off donating your money to St. Jude's than actually making the bet. And then he would say, oh, you're putting on the hazmat suit again. That play, is radioactive. Don't do it. Got to touch it with a 10-foot pole, all that kind of stuff. So this is why it's a hazmat play, because look at what he's done. He had 13 catches last week against Indy, 11 against Philly, 8 against Tennessee, 10 against Houston. The guy has been unstoppable. But what is Rithmm predicting? Rithmm is saying, take the under 7.5. Now, on the one hand, you're getting really good plus money, plus 124. But Rithmm is predicting 5.4 catches. That is a big edge off the 7.5. And the other thing I like about this is it's a smart signal. So those of you who are kind of new to it, Rithmm has kind of taken their recommendations to the next level by creating smart signals, which are basically, not only do we recommend this play, not only is it a green star knife icon sharp play, but it's like really, really green star sharp because it's fitting a situational angle. So in this sample size breakdown of 128 bets, based on the receptions, the win probability, all the factors that are matching with Nacua tonight, it's hit 59% of the time. And you're getting plus money. It's a win probability of 70 to 80%. Again, this is one of those bets that everyone's hammering the over. They're probably playing Nacua over catches, anytime touchdown, over receiving yards. But Rithmm is saying, hold on a second here. Our AI model, our back-end data is actually saying you should go the other way. So my question to you, Cade, is, are you brave enough to go Nacua under 7.5? And what's your thought on this prop or any other props for this game tonight?
I'm absolutely riding it. It makes me even more confident because I'm a big Devontae Adams guy tonight, as is. And the moment that we were discussing, it was like, yeah, Puka under. And I was like, so yeah, I'm a big fan of this tonight. I'm going to be rooting for this one. So my guy Devontae gets his, because I have his props tonight as well. But yeah, I'm riding the smart signals. They've been incredibly hot. And yeah, if you guys have just been watching and just not doing it, and maybe tonight's the night. So what a gross one to start out with too. So
and I must say too, you have some options here because and I want to throw this to you too, Cade. Like, if you have an option to get a better number but a higher juice price, do you take that? Or do you want the better juice at a lower number? Like, for example, Rithmm is saying, take that plus money, plus 124. You risk a unit on the under 7.5, you get 1.24 units back. However, I'm seeing here DraftKings is 8.5. The catch, though, is it's under minus 146. So in situations like this, Cade, do you say I will take the chance that maybe it lands on 8 and I lose the bet, but I'm getting a better juice price? Or do I want to pay more juice to protect myself and say, hey, he can land on 8 and I can still win? How do you handle those, generally speaking?
It's another tough one just because, again, I think it goes back to all preference thing. Like, how much do you want to put down in terms of getting your return? So, like, for me, an example, I'm only playing props at probably a half a unit for me personally. Everybody's different with that. I'm not really a props guy. Like, I've been saying this. I'm kind of getting into them thanks to Rithmm, of course. But more juicier stuff like this, it's going to be your preference of, yeah, if you want to lay, I think what would that technically be? The 80 to win maybe a half or something like that, or something around there, I would
Yep.
say, versus maybe taking the plus and maybe only betting a certain amount to win half or betting a certain amount to win the full unit. Even if your confidence rating is that high on the under, I mean, you can always just do both really small if you really wanted to. It's a big preference thing. For me personally, though, in this case, with the projections lining up how it is, I think it's worth it taking the value here personally.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you there. It's definitely depends on the situation. Like sometimes you'll see it in baseball. Like one book will be like you want the under, and it's like under 7.5. You mentioned baseball. There's all these great games, playoff games here tonight. Like, do you want under 7.5 at, you know, some number where you could get under 8 minus 130, but under 7.5 at, you know, like plus 105 or some better price? Like, it definitely is up to you as a better. I think the question is, do you want to protect yourself on a push or, you know, increase your chances of winning, but know that if you're a bet tourist versus bet to win better, you're going to get less on the
Right.
back end. So that's something that obviously you as the better, I can't tell you what to do. I can tell you what I would do, but it's up to you how you want to handle it. But yeah, this is a big one tonight. Puka Nacua under 7.5 receptions, smart signal, sharp under. Rithmm is predicting 5.4 catches. If this one can cash, we're gonna put it right up on the refrigerator. Cade, when you got an A+ on your algebra test, 8th grade, your mom put that thing on the fridge. We're gonna put Puka Nacua under right next to Jackson Smith and Jigba here, which would be pretty awesome if that were to hit. We were talking to our buddy Parker right before about how there's some other smart signals going on for this game here tonight. So I'm just going to go to the props and go to all of the games. Or let me see here. If I can go to, Kendrick Bourne. This is one that we want to hit on. The question with all these guys out is no George Kittle, no Pearsall, no Juwan Jennings. Who's going to step up? Like someone's got to get some catches. The big belief in the kind of public betting market is that Kendrick Bourne is going to play well tonight. He's going to have to play a lot of snaps. The catch has got to go somewhere. However, if you look at this smart signal, Rithmm is fading Kendrick Bourne here. Remember, Kendrick Bourne's with the Pats. He was released. He had previously played with the 49ers. There's some familiarity there. But Kendrick Bourne, if you look at his trends, he had 1 catch against Jacksonville, 4 against Arizona, 3 against New Orleans. He hasn't really been that involved. His under is 3.5 right now. Rithmm is predicting 2.6. So this would be a smart signal fade of Kendrick Bourne. And if we can scroll down, you know, you can get some plus money, plus 125 at BetMGM here. That would be your best price. But Kendrick Bourne could be worth a look. And if you also look at, I actually should do this, go to all props. Quarterback props are always something that the public loves. So nothing much lighting up here with Stafford or Mac Jones. I'm just looking at some caution flags here. But the first thing we can look at is Stafford under 1.5. So I know this is one that Parker wanted us to mention. It's a recommended green star. It's plus 130. Now, Rithmm is predicting right at 1.5, but this is kind of a play maybe on the game script where, let's say, and maybe this would benefit Puka Nacua as well, to that under, you know, the Rams get out to a big lead. They just start running the ball. No need to throw it. No need to pass touchdowns, you know, go wild offensively. You're up big, take your foot off the gas, run the clock, get out of there with a win. But this is another play here with Stafford toward the under. Cade, before we move on, any other props, thoughts for tonight's game? I'll be rooting hard for the Nacua under. Officially, my only play, though, is the under in the game, 44.5, 44, 43.
Yeah, a few, just because like games like these, like I was saying, that's kind of what I tend to more so. I will hit on the smart signal on Bourne for a little bit, just a tad, because
Nice.
A lot of times it's very hard. Like this guy is their number one guy tonight. For those of you who like are kind of sketchy about it a little bit. My problem with this, you look at who the quarterback is tonight. You have Mac Jones, second team guy, right? Kendrick Bourne, second team guy. You have guys like Ayuk. You have guys like Ricky. You have Jawan Jennings. Mac is used to throwing guys like these. Now, 49ers are expected to play from behind quite a bit tonight, as I'm sure we kind of caught on to that. They're expected to. It doesn't mean it will happen, but they're expected to. I have a hard time getting there with props like these. Not saying that I'm fading it, not saying that I'm taking the over. Just be careful because props like these is where you can kind of get sneaked past by. And I did lean Mac Jones over pass attempts. And if I'm taking his pass attempts, then pretty much taking an under receptions leader from their number one guy, I'm kind of contradicting myself at that point. So I'm not playing either or. It's just of like a word of advice kind of thing, kind of sketchy about it. But then again, like I said, it could happen. These Thursday nights are so weird, man. I'm telling you. I'm like I was saying earlier, though, big Devontae Adams guy tonight. Think that he has a game. I like his over receiving yards a little bit, but I'm taking him to score a touchdown. That is like my nuke of the night kind of deal, I guess you could kind of say. I think it priced at plus 120, if I remember, plus 105 in between there. I think it was plus 120 though, something around there. I do like that one. And then I had Blake Corum getting some garbage time touches in this one, also scoring a touchdown. I think Blake Corum gets it done. I know a lot of people are, like you were saying, they kind of run the ball. They kind of want to just drain out the clock, just get out of there with a win. Doesn't matter at all costs. Those are my two like touchdown scores for tonight. I see they have an under on the smart signals. It's a good thing that he's a goal line guy. Just get to the 1 yard line and let him do his thing. He doesn't have to get 31, but he can get 2. So I'll take that chance. But
Yeah, great point. Yeah, don't confuse the under rush yards for the over anytime touchdown. So good point by you, because yeah, that is a green signal, recommended smart signal. There's one other that I thought I fell on. I don't know. I thought it was. I guess we hit on all of them here, but yeah, I think you make a good point too. Like, if you have a game script of how you think the game will go, and maybe Rithmm is directly against what you think, to me, it's either go with Rithmm or lay off. But again, directly against. Obviously, with Jackson Smith and Jigba, we proved that sometimes that's not the greatest idea to go against the AI models here. But let's keep on going, because I want to get a few games in here for this weekend. The one that I wanted to mention with you was Minnesota Cleveland. So I'm looking at taking the Browns here, Cade, coming up this week. Browns are playing the Vikings. Vikings may have an edge because it's a game in London, another 9:30 game, and they were just in Ireland. So maybe the fact that they're there and they don't have to travel, they're used to the time zone and the change, maybe that's an advantage. But it looks like the betting market kind of disagrees here, because this game opened Carson Wentz -4.5. You're down to 3.5. No Joe Flacco. You have Dylan Gabriel making his first career start here. And it's almost like in baseball, Cade, like when a guy gets brought up to make his debut, does the betting market fade him and say he's going to get lit up? Or is it maybe he's good, or he's going to surprise the other team and they just don't have the film on him? So the fact that Gabriel is now the starter and the line is moving toward Cleveland, that's kind of notable to me. Also, the fact that public is pounding the Vikings. They're getting upwards of, I think, 60-70% of spread bets. You look at the juice on Cleveland, they're the juiced upside, +3.5, -115. Like, it may get down to 3. I jumped on the points here with the Browns. I also think maybe the awesome Browns defense can maybe get to Wentz, and some of those offensive line issues. Smells like maybe a 3-point win where you cover by the hook, but I got to go with the Browns. In addition, the fact that Rithmm is telling me to take the Browns. Rithmm is predicting +2. Again, I gave it to our viewers and listeners early, but you remember that Bama +2.5. Rithmm said it should be 1.5. You had an edge there with Ole Miss over a point. Here's an edge on the Cleveland Browns. So you're an Ohio guy, Cade. I got 2 models lit up on the Browns. What are your thoughts on Gabriel in his debut, and can the Browns cover this number?
Yeah, I'm big on spots like these because it's not, I don't want to say it's an ideal spot, because it's really not for the Browns, honestly. Especially when coming off an international week for the Vikings in this case, the Minnesota Vikings have some serious offensive line issues right now. with how juiced up that this is right now, my plan is to initially wait. If I can get a 4.5, I think there might be a 4.5 available now that I think about it. But more than likely we'll be buying into the Browns once it. Okay, yeah, that's why I thought I seen one earlier,
Good point.
and even then
DraftKings.
-115. So if I mean, if we can get higher, then might as well. I'll take my chances. But yeah, spots like these, love the dog, love the home dog in this spot. I already put in my Dylan Gabriel Offensive Rookie of the Year ticket in. Being an adult is so fun. You get to make investments like these all the time. So I'm all in on the guy. I think he has a day. And overall, I just think, yeah, with how good, talented this Browns defensive pass rush is, I think they get to Minnesota this weekend. Not to mention, I do like the under in this severely low total.
Ooh.
37.5, I believe is what it's at right now. Do have this one as well. I'm not sure what that's moved down to. Okay, so it has went down. 40. Yikes.
Yeah, I hear you though. Again, what kind of offense you're gonna get from Gabriel? Yeah, no, don't you love that? You
I
love
know,
something,
right?
and the rhythm says, "Nope, you're an idiot. You should go
It's
the other way." That's always
just
fun.
quarterbacks making their debuts. It just hasn't produced many points historically. I think last week with Jackson Dart, I think also went under, if I remember correctly. I was more of like a 20s teens game type of thing. There's another one earlier this year. Cam Ward's debut in Denver was also another one that went under, I believe. Just not a fan of those debut starts getting the points that we need. I like, despite how low this is, I'm trusting both defenses because I like Brian Flores. Again, love the Browns pass rush. I'll take that risk.
Yeah, I'll lean under with you too. Anytime you can get also a dog low total, like
Yeah.
that's important to
Mhm.
me because if you're taking that 4.5 again, right there by shopping around, by noticing that you can scroll down and find that that 4.5. Again, you lose by 4. That's important here. But in a low total game, you're taking the dog. That's typically a good thing. The fewer amount of expected points scored makes it harder for the favorite to cover. Like if the Browns are getting 3.5 and the total was 50, you'd be like, "Ooh, that isn't great," because more points scored are going to be more likely the favorite covers the number. So that's important to me. And then I know you're a system guy like me, Cade. Dogs off a blowout loss. You lose by 20 points or more. You come back the next week. Those teams are 4-2 against the spread this year. They're 56% ATS since 2018. So Browns, to me, I already took them plus 4.5. Again, you can still get the 4.5 with DK, but that's going to be an early sweat for me coming up on Sunday. Next one I wanted to ask you about was Denver Philly. This one is one of the most heavily bet games of the weekend. Two good teams. Philly's undefeated. Broncos had a little bit of a, maybe slow start here, but got on track by blowing out the Cincinnati Bengals. I'm going to take the points here too. I noticed this line move toward the Broncos. Philly opened as high as like -5.5, 4.5, 5.5. It's down to 3.5. Some shops are now like -110 both sides. Like I don't know if it gets to 3. We can kind of monitor that, but it's been pretty clear this line is going toward Denver. Now, I do have two conflicting models, one Broncos, one Eagles, but the Eagles one is a caution flag. The Broncos one is a green star recommended play. So Rithmm has Broncos +3. Again, if you're getting the hook 3.5, you're against the public. Public's laying it with the Eagles. It reminds me a little bit of the Rams game, which scares me, Kate. I hope I don't get another backbreaking bad beat here. But line's going to the road dog. And if you scroll down, you can bet Rivers. If you can find a bet Rivers, 4.5 is still available to you. So I like the points here with Denver. Any thoughts on this one, Cade?
Yeah, I will be taking Denver.
Okay, you
Yeah,
scared
no.
me, man. I thought you were gonna be like, dude, I love the Eagles here.
No, I'm fading Philadelphia until they give me a reason not to. Like if I there's a thing that they like to call luck rankings in the ATS world of NFL. The Eagles are extremely high on this list right now. And like the way that they have squeezed out of some of these is honestly incredibly frustrating because it was on the Rams, we're on the Buccaneers, and then we get this and another short line. And now everybody's obviously asking, oh, we get another short line, Philadelphia at home. Like, come on, what are we doing? Yeah, of course we're going to take Philly here. No, I'm taking the short one again. So, yeah, it's just I'm going back to the well. I'm hoping one of these days it's going to pay off. And quite frankly, I have one of my models saying Broncos outright. So I'm going to trust that one as well. So
Ooh,
I think that one's a little bit juicy. So we'll stay tuned on Sunday for this one. It might be an upset brewing.
nice. That'll be great. And to your point too, like on the one hand, you know, you lose a play like that 3.5 with the Rams, and you're like, man, this stinks. You got to remember though, the public, they think of it as like the right thing happened and the obvious thing happened, and they get almost more take committed to do the same thing the next time around. So kind of in a weird way, I definitely hate the fact that we lost that a couple weeks ago, but maybe the public says, hey, it wash, rinse, repeat. It worked the last time, do it again. When in reality, you know, we were pretty much on the right side until something ridiculously unexpected happened. So let's see if the Broncos can hopefully cover by the hook here, or for you, win outright, which would be pretty nice. Last one I want to hit on with you, Cade. It's a game that's important to me because I'm a Patriots fan. I'm a Patriots over 7.5 win total holder here. But the Pats are going into Orchard Park, Sunday Night Football, Patriots, Bills. You're getting a lot of, you know, Josh Allen v. Drake May. Should be a very heavily bet, very popular game here. I'm going to take the points with New England. Now, I'm not doing it because I'm a Patriots fan. I think one of the early things that you and I probably both learned in sports betting is don't bet your favorite teams just because they're your favorite teams. Because when they don't cover, you'll be mad at them and you'll lose your bet. It just ruins your night. But when your favorite team happens to be sharp, those are rare instances where, hey, I'll ride it out. I'll hopefully be able to root for my team and root for them to cover. So what I like about New England is the line move in their favor. If you look at the way this line opened, it was Bills as high as -10. Patriots are now down to 8.5. You might be able to shop around and find an 8, but you are checking off a lot of boxes with New England. Dog 6.5 or more, 55% against the spread since 2022. Primetime dogs. Mike Vrabel's been good as a dog. There's another angle here where, as great as Josh Allen is, when he is, if I can find the stat for you, when he's favored by 7.5 or more, he's only covering 47% of the time. So this reminds me maybe a little bit of like the Dolphins game that we cashed a few weeks ago, where it looked like an easy blowout for the Bills, but the line kind of kept creeping back toward Miami. Maybe you get the same sort of thing here. Patriots lose by 7, but hopefully keep it close. Now, they're not Green Star recommended plays, but they're both on the Patriots. And I have one Pats plus 7.6, the other one Pats plus 7.2. So if I can shop around, again, I don't know if you can find a 9 anymore, but 8.5s are pretty widely, not widely, but FanDuel still got an 8.5. Fanatics, kind of like the DK's down to a 7.5. Some other books down to 8. 8. On the one hand, you're like, man, I wish I got closer to the opening number of 10. On the other hand, 8.5 might be your best number here. I put in the 8.5. Cade, as a Ohio guy outside of New England, what's your take on the Pats, and are you taking the points here Sunday night?
If you're new to the program, you guys know it's divisional dogs, and that's the only system that you need here in this case. I love these kind of spots. I think it sounds nuts, and I'm honestly, this is one of my like favorite sneaky money line bets out there because like I love sprinkling the money lines in these kind of plays. Bills haven't impressed me one bit, especially on the defensive side for that matter. Offensive side, yeah, I'm a big Josh Allen guy. Love him to death. Defensively, I'm not there yet at all. With how good Drake May has been in his sophomore campaign this year, he's been unbelievable. 6th amongst all starting quarterbacks in EPA plus CPOE, composite and adjusted EPA per play right now. Defense, yes, they've had some problems of their own. They rank right around the same as the Bills though in like almost every single category. But remember like how weak that their schedule has been since like the first week of the season. Talking about the Bills, their last 3 games: Jets, Dolphins, Saints. They rank 7th in net yards per play. That's at plus 0.9, which is very blech. And then their defense ranks 22nd in opponent EPA per play. So 17th in opponent success rate, 22nd in defensive DVOA. To have those numbers while you're playing pretty much arguably the 3 worst teams in the league right now, we got some issues. Okay. And I love the over. I know it's pretty high, but I love, it's got all the signs and the green stars of a shootout, in my opinion. And if the Bills are not careful, I think that the Patriots have a serious chance of winning this game outright. And I think that I'm going to bet it. And I do have it. I think it's plus 325. Pretty hefty, but I do like that a lot. So did sprinkle a little bit, but yes, my main play is on the spread there.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Again, 8.5 looks to be your best number. Rhythm's got it 7.6, 7.5, whatever we looked at a second ago. So you're right. It really kind of marries a lot of elements we look for. Line move, primetime dog, divisional dog, rhythm system match. I mean, you're kind of really checking off all these boxes for the Patriots. So, man, an outright win, that'll be pretty
I love it.
amazing. I'll take the cover there, Cade. That will be pretty nice as well. Real quick, just some college games that I wanted to get your take on, Cade. So if we can go up top, switch to NCAA football. The first one that caught my eye, it's not really a super edge with Rhythm, but this is one of those games that really the market really caught my eye on. If I can find this one, it's Iowa State and Cincy. Now, my play here is Cincinnati money line. This reminds me a little bit of what we saw with that Ole Miss game where public was LSU, but the line went to the home favorite, dog to fave. You're pretty much seeing the same thing here with Cincinnati. Cincinnati's unranked. Iowa State is ranked. Iowa State is undefeated. But a lot of books open Iowa State as a short favorite. We've now flipped to Cincy -1.5, even -2. No one wants to play Cincy, but Cincy keeps moving, unranked versus ranked. And if you look at these unranked versus ranked straight up spots, they are 66% straight up, 6% ROI over, I think, since 2017. So Public's Iowa State, lines going to Cincy. Now, as I mentioned, it's really not an edge with Rhythm. Like Rhythm is predicting basically a pick'em type spread. I have two models here saying take Iowa State. I have a couple money lines here on Iowa State. So Rhythm is kind of saying like, pick 'em type game, take the better team. This is one of those games where I don't want to do it, but I'm going to go against Rhythm and money line Cincinnati just because I love the situational angle of public on the ranked obvious. Like, think of it this way: Iowa State ranked, undefeated, yet why are they a dog on the road to Cincinnati unranked? So, like, I just love that spot. What's your number on this game, Cade? Any love for Cincinnati here, or do you agree with Rhythm that maybe you should just take the 1.5 or 2 with the Cyclones?
Yeah, I'm all for it because Cincinnati guy, first of all, in the area. Town's absolutely buzzing right now for this game, and I really wish that I was going to be in Netbert for this, honestly. I'm sad that I'm not. I was on the opposite side of Iowa State last week with Arizona. Clearly was way off on that. Incredibly impressive victory by Iowa State. The thing about these, blowout win versus very good, impressive team coming on the road next, and all of a sudden you have this line where you're a dog all of a sudden, where last year you probably would have been favored by, a touchdown probably? Like, it's how bad this Cincinnati team was last year. Yeah, I'm all for it. The Clones are in trouble, and Cincinnati's offense is absolutely scorching right now. Top 20 nationally. Same thing as Virginia. Like, what is up with these random offenses? All of a sudden, they just like poof and like one of the best in the country. It's insane. I kind of dislike it in a way, but it makes college football fun. That's why I love the sport so much. Iowa State did lose 2 all-conference cornerbacks, Jonathan Williams, Jeremiah Cooper, season-ending injuries. Extremely problematic for this week specifically. As a matter of fact, among all power conference teams, only North Carolina and UCLA have generated a lower pressure rate right now than Iowa State. Also worth noting that Cincinnati runs incredibly similar defensive schemes, I guess, to Iowa State. Yeah, I'm money lining on the Bearcats here in this spot. I like the spot. It's just I can't get there. There's just no way. The line with how sketchy it is. Is there value on Iowa State? Sure, you can very much so argue that. You have a ranked team. They're right there. I mean, it's a great price. But for the spot that this is and the area that both of these teams are in, it's Cincinnati. And I hope I'm right for the city, not just as like a person, but yeah, as a bettor, it's Cincinnati this weekend.
I'm right there with you, Kate. I hope you're right too, because I'm going with you, man. Money line here, and also sports betting. Like, it can be very complex. It's difficult. There's a lot of factors at play, but sometimes there's like a one thing that you get hung up on, or one thing that it just jumps out to you. Like, remember when it was one of our first live streams, and it was Texas and Ohio State, and the thing we kept saying was like, why is Texas #1 team a dog? Like that, if you just boil it down to like, why is Ohio State favored if they're 3 and Texas is 1? I know the line did dip back a little bit toward Texas there. I think it was like 3 to 1.5 or something, but Rithmm had, I think, Ohio State 3. Kind of same thing here. Why is Iowa State a dog if they're undefeated and they're ranked against an unranked Cincy team? So that automatically is going to take me to Cincinnati here. So let's go Bearcats on the money
Also
line.
note
Next one.
that
Go
Rocco
ahead.
Beck just flat out turns into some random group of 5 terrible person quarterback during this time of year, by the way. They start out hot. It's a Matt Campbell team. So just take that into note, by the way. Read your history books about Iowa State. They fold this time of year every single year. So
hey, I'll take it. If they can fold when we bet against them,
I'm
fine
hoping,
with me.
Yeah.
Let's go to another one here. Interested to see your take on this one. Florida State and Miami. Now, this one is intriguing to me because, man, this looks really sharp toward Florida State, and it looks disgusting because if you remember last week when you and I were doing the show, we were talking about how Florida State, what were they, -7 against Virginia? Yep. We said take the points with Virginia. Everyone was playing Florida State. Line kept kind of going back toward UVA. UVA at the time, or I think UVA was unranked. For FSU was ranked and undefeated. Yet the liability showed on that unranked UVA team. Kind of similar here where, Miami is this powerhouse, undefeated, ranked team. Now, Florida State is ranked 2, but they're coming off a bad loss where nationally televised, I think it was an ESPN game, if I remember. They're favored by 6.5, 7. They lose outright. So anyone who played them last week is mad at them, is annoyed by them. They cost them money. It's an easy layup here to take Miami. Like 80% of spread bets at DraftKings are on Miami, but the line is moving toward FSU. FSU opened at one point as high as like getting 7, 6, like a pretty, respectable number there. It's all the way down to 4.5. I'm seeing some shops get down to 4. This line is moving toward FSU in a ultimate buy low spot off a bad loss. You can sell high on an undefeated ranked team, Miami. I'm taking 4.5 here, Cade, with Florida State. If you look at the Rithmm recommendations, they're both FSU. Now, this is a caution flag, 5.2, but my recommended green star, FSU plus 2.9. So, again, if I can get a sharp dog, unpopular, line moving in their favor, heavily bet game, and Rithmm is telling me it should be a closer game than what the market is saying, that's an auto bet for me. So I got Seminoles plus 4.5. Cade, can they cover this number against Miami?
Yeah, there's a slight chance that we might have went a little bit too far with Miami. I have them power rated as like as the top team in the country right now. Granted, can you argue they've been a little bit lucky? CJ Carr in his first collegiate start ever, especially on the road. You get a USF team in a terrible, terrible spot. Granted, which had Miami in both of those games, because rightfully so. Their other win came over one of the worst Power 4 offenses that we've probably ever seen in Florida. And then again, Florida's great defense still did their job, rightfully so. And now all of a sudden they get their first road game of the season in front is probably is going to be an incredible crowd of this game. They're like Florida State's coming off of a loss. This team is pissed off. Like they're ready to prove the country wrong, basically. Not to mention enormous rivalry. Like for those 90s kids. I'm not a 90s kid, but my dad always tells me stories about this kind of game. It's unreal. It's unlike one we've ever seen. I think Miami does have an edge on the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. Yes. However, enter Tommy Castellanos, right? Incredibly mobile QB. This kid's got legs. You have Gus Malzahn, a wizard so far as an offensive coordinator, which is something I thought I'd never say because I honestly hate Malzahn with everything in me. Notable nugget as well. As a road favorite of at least a field goal against Power 4 competition, Mario Cristobal, the head coach of the Canes, 16-26 against the spread, failing to cover by over 4 points per game on average. So 4-12 against the spread mark at Miami in these type of games with a -8.5 average cover margin. Meanwhile, Norvell, opposite side, 7-1 against the spread as a home dog against these ranked teams with a plus 8.5 average cover margin. He's won 4 of those 8 contests completely outright, with the one against the spread loss coming against very shaky loss against Clemson a couple years back. If you guys remember that one, I know I do because I had Florida State. So yeah, this is a spot bet for me. Same thing as last week. I love it's fun. We fade them the one week, we back them the next. That's college football. It is what it is. Outright's maybe a stretch. Yes, I'm sprinkling it. It's one of those spots. It's the system's point there. The stars are aligning. I like it. Should be game day, by the way.
I'm right
Should have
there
been
with you,
college
man.
game day, by the way, but I digress.
And again, these are the spots you mentioned it because, you know, you're coming off a straight up loss when you're favored by 7 versus Miami. I was digging. I'm like, they haven't played in a while, right? And I looked it up and they are on a bye week. They last played against Florida on the 20th of September. So like theoretically, Miami is rested, ready to go, yet the line's going away from them, even though they're the really public play. That just screams that, you know, to me, a lot of smart money has come in on Florida State. And again, like, the value is always buy low, sell high. Like, it's so cliche, it's overused, but it's true. You're selling high on Miami, who's 4-0 and ranked 3rd overall. You're buying low on FSU, who is annoyed and let down after losing outright last week. That and the market can kind of be with the buy low, sell high angle. That's an auto bet for me. So yeah, the fact that we have Rithmm here saying it should be about a field goal game and you can get 4.5. Give me the Seminoles here.
My buddy also makes a great point in the chat, Rob, and here I do have the over as well. He put the over 53.5 and just reminded me. I do have a play on the total as well. I do have the over 53. Very poor defenses finishing drives versus offenses top 20 finishing drives. And that kind of point, once they get to the red zone, these teams are just points, no matter what. It's quality drives, whether it's a field goal, whether it's a touchdown. They just end the drive with points. That's quality drive for you. For those stat people who don't know that kind of stuff, that's what kind of goes into that for me personally. FSU's coverage grade also not very great, especially with no pass rush. I think it's going to give Carson Beck a decent amount of time to get the ball to his playmakers. I think there's points for once in my life. NFL prime times are different than college football prime times. I know I just said this, but for once, I'll take a night over for once. Okay. So that'll be my 2 plays for that game, or technically 3 if you're counting the money line sprinkle, which I'm not really tracking, just the spread and total for me.
And hey, Rithmm agrees with you. Over 54. You said maybe you can get a 53.5 right now at FanDuel. Rhythm's predicting 56.3. It's a nice little edge there toward that over. So yeah, low scoring game, high scoring game. Kate, I'll root for a high scoring game for you, but let's go Seminoles here. Hopefully cover this number. So yeah, I know there's a lot more games we could hit on, Cade. But just to wrap it up here, I want to thank everyone for tuning in to another Rithmm Rundown. To make Parker happy, we got to ramble our favorite bets here, Cade. I'm going with the under tonight, San Fran and the Rams. I got under 44.5. 44 is probably your best price now. Browns plus 4.5. You can find it at DraftKings. Broncos plus 4.5. You can find it at Bet Rivers. Took the 8.5 with the Patriots. Cincinnati money line. Florida State plus 4.5. That's what I'm rocking. There'll probably be more, Cade, but those are my favorite plays. How about you, buddy?
Yeah, I'm with you. The teaser at the beginning I was going over, Rams minus 1.5 paired with Miami plus 4.5 in Carolina this weekend. 2 props that I had: Devontae Adams touchdown, Blake Corum touchdown, not parlayed, just straight for both of those. And for the weekend, of course, like we always just said, Cincinnati money line, and then Florida State plus 4.5. Over 53.5 there. And then, yeah, always be sure to highlight the smart signal box here. And of course, we're all going to be squad riding this one with our puke bags next to us, maybe.
Yeah, it's gonna be like Puka, like, short little catches. Don't break an 80-yard catch. That'll hurt us. But yeah, made a lot of believers out of Jackson Smith and Jigwa last week. The Rithmm team, of course, will be rooting hard for this Nakua under. But as always, thank you for tuning in. Reminder, download Rithmm, give it a 5-star review in the App Store. Use promo code START25 for 25% off. Refer a friend. You both get a little bonus. And as always, make sure that you enter our leaderboard contest. Because, Cade, Megan and the crew, they're nuts. They're giving away big dollar bills
Every
here.
week.
You might as well
Yeah.
enter, see if you can win. And just give me and Cade, like, buy us a drink if you win $1,000. That would be cool. But thank you, everyone. Cade, take us home. Any final thoughts?
No, it's best time of the year. Like I said, it's peak. We got postseason baseball. I'm a Phillies fan. Go Phils. And then, yeah, I said, let's bounce back this week. It's a good week to bounce back.
Amen, brother. And I'm a Red Sox fan, so Connolly early.
Hey.
Pitch the damn game of your life tonight.
I'm rooting for it. World Series
nice.
tickets in both of those teams, so I'm down with it.
Yeah, Phillies, Red Sox, we'll take that. That'd be a nice World Series. But thank you, everyone. Cade, great job as always, buddy. I'll see you next week. And hope you guys can cash your tickets. And